Welcome to another episode of Neon Radio Podcast. I'm Reece.
And I'm Dan.
In France, they call me a Royale with cheese. But in Australia, I'm Declan.
Wow. That's
Are you sure?
That was a pretty good one.
Well played. Is it because of the metric system? This week, we're doing the seminal film, Pulp Fiction. Written and directed by Quentin Tarantino, with story also by Roger Avery. Its cinematographer was Andrzej Sekula, a Polish cinematographer who also shot Reservoir Dogs.
Yep.
And would go on to shoot the classic American Psycho with Christian Bale. Produced by Lawrence Bender, who would work with him up until Inglourious Bastards. Production design by Sandy Reynolds Wasco, who also worked as head production designer as every one of Tarantino's films, and some side movies that banged, like the first three Wes Anderson films, Bottle Rocket, Rushmore, Royal Tenenbaums, and most recently, La La Land. Also, this movie had an A-list makeup team, including Robert Kurtzman and Greg Nicotero. They would go on to do Walking Dead.
Walking Dead, yes.
And a minor fun fact as well, executive produced by Danny DeVito.
Yeah, I saw that. That was interesting.
That was weird.
Yeah.
So that's just a little film info on it. If you haven't seen Pulp Fiction, go out and watch it. Come back and listen to us. We spoil this movie. We'll spoil all the in-betweens and outs and everything about it. So do that first, and then we can get into it. But let's jump straight into this. Damn man.
Yeah, this was a good sit for me. I enjoyed it. And I liked how it started and ended on the same thing with a different perspective. To me, I find that Samuel L. Jackson is the key for this film.
Fucking oath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is just so good. Even in Hateful Eight. Hateful Eight, Django. Man, God, he's good. And, that to me, that just stands out. Just number one thing, man. Just Samuel L. Jackson, he's just so damn good. And Harvey Keitel, again, man, just incredible.
The day Samuel Jackson slips to the void is going to be one of the saddest days. Like he's getting up there and he's getting older now.
Yeah.
And fuck, he's so good.
Yeah, he's just, I don't know. That passage that he says.
Ezekiel.
Ezekiel.
25:17.
Yeah, 25, wrote it down. Man, he's...
Path of the righteous man.
That's like Oscar-worthy material there. I know, to me, it's just so... that's not grandstanding. He just owns the screen, man.
Yeah. He just kills it.
But now, this is where it gets tricky. I do think this movie is too long. And it's going to be hard for me to rate this. I haven't got a score yet because I do like... I think Reservoir Dogs better. That makes sense.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think this movie is a bit too overcomplicated. More than that, I think there's too many things happening, which is parts you don't need.
I think in the middle it's bloated.
Yeah, like I think the Bruce Willis story.
Yeah,
I 100% agree.
I don't think it's needed.
Sorry, are you done?
Yeah.
So I'll just jump straight into mine.
Yeah.
I think that the start of Bruce Willis' story up until the pawn shop is...
The Golden Watch.
For me, I was
section.
getting restless.
Yes.
Like I was like, fuck. I don't know if I'm going to finish
Everything
this movie
with
tonight. You know what I mean? Like I was like, oh God, I might have to start this again tomorrow because I'm like, it's getting to be a hard sit
romp.
now.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, just, push through. And then when I got to the pawn shop, I was invigorated by it again.
But as Fabian, his partner in it.
The what?
Her name is Fabian.
The French girl.
Oh, that's not even... I just found more just the drag up to...
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole conversation is a bit much.
Everything from when he gets to see her and then leaves.
I even found when he was at even running from his boxing thing, I was a bit... Sort of
that was
the cab ride.
Because I think part of the problem that happens narratively is we already know that Marcel is like a bad dude, right? And this is just sort of reinforcing that he's bad. And it's like, we know, we know he has to be on the run now. Let's fucking move along to But
there's a lot that could have been cut there.
They should have cut that.
Nice.
They should have made Travolta do something to carry on the lines with the rubbing of the feet thing, and made that the conflict with him and Marcel.
But it wasn't. Travolta didn't have a conflict with Marcel.
Yeah, but that's something they should have done. They should have cut out Bruce Willis's part. Didn't need any of that.
I think Bruce Willis's part was fine.
I think it worked. Yeah. Oh, I kind of get what you're saying there. Yeah.
And just make it more
You think that if they had have tossed Bruce Willis and just made that middle section about Travolta trying to be on the run from Marcel, that probably would have worked.
Because he died anyway. So,
but there's a reason. There's a reason that it's 3 separate stories that I've got in the facts. But it's really good. But I think for me, like this movie, I don't really have anything like inherently bad to say about this movie. But I do wish that I had have seen it at the cinema when it came out, because there's a few things that I've got ready to read if a point comes up in time for it. It'd probably bog down the facts too much if I go into them. But it was like a seminal movie. It kind of changed Hollywood quite a bit. And I do wish I had been around for that, because I think the impact of this movie would be more for me if I had have experienced that as it happened. But as it is, I didn't. And for me, it's just a good movie. It's a really good movie for me. I probably, because I know that its biggest rival in its time period, like it and Boogie Nights, are kind of like. I think I like Boogie Nights that bit more.
I agree with you.
But Pulp Fiction is still really good.
Yeah,
it's really good.
Yeah. It's hard, and I'm going to do a score change as well for the first movie.
Okay.
I'm giving an extra 0.5, so I'm giving that an 8 out of 10.
Okay, fair enough. I can change that. That is high.
Reservoir Dogs is good, man.
Good movie.
Reservoir Dogs is really good.
Yeah, so that's a change. I was going to say the just quickly, when Travolta, they go to that cafe, the burger place. It was pretty cool. When they got up to dance,
Jack Rabbit Slims.
Yeah. That went for too long.
I like that scene, man.
I love that fucking scene too.
I think that scene's really cool.
I thought it was embarrassing.
No, I really like that scene.
I was into it too.
Travolta's killing it on the stage.
Yeah, this is probably
good.
I'm not much of a Travolta fan, but I actually enjoyed him in this.
Yeah,
it's I do. When you about Sam Jackson though, particularly the last scene, he's incredible. That last scene really. If that wasn't the final scene of this movie, I think it would. Yeah, I think it would crumble under its weight.
Yeah.
But he fucking carries it through.
By the way, I think my favorite moment in that scene isn't even his lines, which is like amazing.
Yeah.
It's them walking to the door, lifting up these shitty UCLA shirts and putting a gun between the boxes.
I think that's
and walking out.
It's things like that that make this movie amazing though, is like when we see them earlier and they're in those weird outfits, we're like, why are they in those outfits? And it gets explained to us later. Like that's what makes this movie cool.
It's good, and obviously that's all intentional. And I think that's the mastermind behind Tarantino.
Isn't it interesting that not all of them, but a lot of these directors that go on to become sort of like these household names early on in their careers play around with non-linear structure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like it was big for Nolan, it was big for Tarantino. Like it's sort of like
it's different.
Yeah. I think that was that time period, right? Because Nolan was sort of mucking around late 90s, early 2000s. Tarantino was just a bit before him, and that time period seems to be when non-linear narrative was a thing.
I think that's it. Sorry, man. It's an art thing in general.
Yeah.
You got to stand out from the crowd, and that's how you get noticed.
But you don't see it too much now because people have sort of done it now. You've got to get something new. But it's interesting.
Well, that's what I was going to say with my little thoughts. I think this may be possibly one of the greatest anthology films, if not the greatest anthology film of all time.
Yeah.
If you look at it in a retrospect, it kind of is an anthology film. You got 3 very separate stories that interconnect. And I've seen other movies do that, obviously, but nothing to the credibility of something like this, which has like the beats and ways that things are said. I just can't stress enough how very capturing those moments are. Them going and being like, it's too early, and then walking down the hall and then consistently, talking about the foot massage for a little longer, and then being, okay, let's go back to the door. Yeah. That's something that wouldn't be done in another movie because you'd be like, that's too long. That's
or talking about a sitcom. So
I
like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, like things like that, I just think that make this like, it's almost like I'm watching Brian Azzarello's 100 Bullets, but on a screen, and that's like a comic book. That's just a fantastic comic book, similar in vein, with like short stories that are like just simple, and then they kind of interconnect and
Yeah.
leave each other. So I just love that type of
Yep.
style. So yeah, I really love this movie.
Yeah.
I do think it's too long as well.
Yeah.
But it could have cut like 20 minutes
Yeah.
Yeah.
and would have been
fine.
like
Yep.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that both of you are right. It was the Bruce Willis section that needed to be. They could have cut the cab ride. They could have cut half of the Fabiana. I don't know how her name is pronounced.
Yeah. But I'll spoil one of the facts though. They had to have Bruce Willis in it to get the budget.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Because of Die Hard. Not
Basically, got $10 million more on top of the budget.
Fuck.
Yeah.
commanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
And he
fair
he
enough.
basically played John McClane.
He pretty much did.
You know what's
Yeah.
funny? You know
The
what's funny
car
about
ride's
this though?
the same as
Was this after Die Hard 3?
This would have been before.
But how come he has
wait,
more hair
hold
in
on,
Die
what?
Hard 3 than he has in this? His hair is fully thin in this movie, but in Die Hard 3 it's like normal.
Maybe.
I'm looking it up because I
Maybe
feel
they
like
put fake hair on it.
Yeah.
I feel like it was before, but I'll let you know. Okay,
Yeah, surely it'd be
97. Hold on.
Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, Die Hard 3 was 95 and this was 93. It was shot and released in 94.
Okay, yeah.
So this is before.
So they've done something with his hair for
He
Die
had
Hard 3.
He had advanced hair.
Yeah, because it was thin as in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because he has like relatively thick hair in Die
Yeah.
Hard 3.
Yeah.
They got that spray shit on it.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, I mean, anyway, I really like this movie. But let's get into the some of the stuff about it. I'm going to jump through things because I had a lot, but I'm just going to just pop through different ones. We all know that the opening cards and title sequences for these type of movies are like, pretty much you see it and you're like, we're in a Tarantino movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Straight up.
Yeah.
The opening robbery moment, like the whole conversation at the start with like, why does no one rob restaurants?
Yeah, yeah.
Type of thing. And like banks are easier. And like, look who's like in the liquor stores now. You can't go into a liquor store.
How racist is
This movie
Yeah.
is
Still.
so racist.
Yeah, he continues the run of...
Oh, and by the way,
Yeah, it's-
who's the most racist in this? Tarantino.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
it's fucking nuts.
Yeah.
I also would say, jumping ahead though, his acting in this is pretty poor.
That's so... You know, with
It's
the
like
scene,
it looks like he's looking off camera all the time at people. It's
yeah,
really weird.
he looks back at the camera for one shot when it's just over his shoulder, just to see where he stands, and he just slowly moves across.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
But anyway,
That's his scene.
But I do think that it felt, you're right, it felt like almost like an earlier movies acting, like as if like he was like a young student
yeah.
actor
Yeah.
doing that. It was really weird.
Yeah.
But he can act better than me, that's for sure.
I can act better than me too, but
Yeah.
I'm not in a Hollywood film. Like, you got to hold it up to a higher standard, don't you?
That's true.
We get the music change in the titles as well, which I think, yet again, the movie just goes so good with its music.
Yeah.
Every moment with it. Later on with the Jackrabbit Slim scene, where you get the You Never Can Tell Chuck Berry with the Twist song. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, the whole soundtrack just screams it. Can we talk about the milkshake? I fucking love the milkshake scene.
$5 milkshake.
I
That's
love
cheap
it.
for a milkshake now.
I know.
I just got to taste that.
Yeah,
I like-
guys, it's a pretty damn good fucking milkshake. I
See,
love
this is what's
that.
good about Tarantino. He just makes the characters talk about shit that's not needed, but just makes it work.
But did you
So
notice?
it's a Marilyn Monroe thing. He goes, "No, it's not Marilyn Monroe. That's
Yeah.
Because what's happening is that what he does is what's meant to be happening in a scene is, dialogue, and he does it too, like it's his own thing, like no one can do it the way that he does it, but dialogue really isn't meant to be used to like really explain what's going on in a scene, like the character's actions and things like that. It's what's going on underneath that we should be sort of identifying with, which is what good writing and good movies are, right? But Tarantino does it another layer, even where we're already aware through exposition early in the movie that this is tense for John Travolta's character
Yes.
Yeah.
because of what's happened to someone else who's spent a night out with Mia.
Yeah.
Is it Wallace?
Mia Wallace.
Mia Wallace. And we know that's going on underneath. So the idea is that like this dialogue that has nothing to do with what John Travolta is thinking or feeling is just this nice little realistic almost, or hyper realistic.
Yeah.
Trying to keep a normal conversation going, but it's so layered because we know what's going on. He's going like, "Fuck, man, I can't overstep this. What am I going to do
We also
here?"
get
Like,
so many different stories through scenes like the milkshake scene.
yeah,
Like if you look at it, we see that Mia's used to the good life. She gets a $5 shake and she's like, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, why?
used to the good life,
going
but
off
goes
me?
to this sort of dinky.
Yeah,
But
because she wants to have fun.
Yeah,
And then you see he's like, obviously like, fucking $5 shake. You kidding me?
Yeah.
It's not. He doesn't have it like that.
yeah.
And also he's kind of very like,
Yeah, and they live in a shit area because when Harvey Cartel goes, he goes, "Oh,
goes,
yeah,
yeah,
I'll give you a lift," and he goes, "Oh,
nah,
nah."
you get. No, I can sense a taxi ride in the future. But you also have that moment where you see that because he actually does exclaim, "Is that a $5 shake?" and he goes in through that. He's also very confronting.
Yeah.
Like he's a confronting dude.
Yeah.
And then also you
Well,
get.
he's Vic Vega's brother.
Yeah, exactly.
You can actually
Yeah.
imagine them being brothers the
Yeah.
way that he's like kind of is in this movie. Which is
Yeah,
cool.
for sure.
Yeah.
But you also get this thing where like Tarantino's very good at introducing characters with stories, like you said. So Marcelo Wallace has this massively dark, twisted story about somebody giving his wife a foot massage and him throwing him out a fucking window.
Yeah.
So straight away you're like, every time you see Marcelo Wallace, which is just the back of his head with a Band-Aid,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is awesome.
Yeah, no, I know.
Have you heard the theory behind that?
Why is that?
The theory?
No.
This goes into sort of, instead of doing Declan with Declan, I'm thinking of doing a segment called Deep Dive with Declan.
Okay.
So I've started reading like deeper into these things.
Okay.
This could be the pilot for it.
Oh.
But basically,
Going to the depths.
so
with
the
Declan.
briefcase, right?
Going in
The
deep.
big mystery MacGuffin of Pulp Fiction. When they open it, what is everyone looking at in there? This illuminated thing. There's a theory that it's Marcel Wallace's soul,
Holy fuck.
and the idea that he sold his soul to the devil to rise to the top of the crime world.
That's so cool, though.
And become rich and famous. And the Band-Aid, because we're constantly shown the Band-Aid on the back of his head, and that's where the soul was extracted from.
And he's
and
trying
that's
to get
why
it
that's
back.
why they can't give it up, and like all this stuff that's going on with it. It's kind of a cool little
Interesting.
theory.
Yeah.
It's a cool idea. I think it's definitely out there. But I think,
I don't think
yet
I don't
again,
think,
Tarantino,
I think Tarantino hasn't confirmed or denied
he said he'll never.
exactly.
I've seen that in interviews. He's specifically, so
But
even
even
more
the way-
recent
yeah.
interviews, he's like, I will never tell you what's in the briefcase.
That's what makes it so much more intriguing.
Yeah.
Intriguing. Sorry.
And actually, he says, people have asked him, do you know what's in the briefcase? And he goes, yes.
So he would know.
Yeah, he goes,
100%
yes.
would.
Wait, he goes, I'll never tell you.
But-
I wonder if he told any of the actors.
I think that's pretty cool though.
Yeah.
Like Tim Roth at the end when he's like, oh, is that what I think it is? Like it's
Yeah.
the most beautiful thing I've ever
the
seen.
scene, yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Good pickup.
We also get like, we know that he's just good at things like, I mean, I write down shit that is stupid, but the foot fucking master is just, it's funny, but it's also weird because it's Tarantino. By the way, they're talking about feet a lot in this
Really,
movie.
really,
that's his thing.
foot fetish really
It's
comes
just-
to the forefront in
Yeah.
this movie.
Yeah.
Fucking crazy.
Yeah. Even a tight shot of what's her name again? Wallace's missus.
Yeah.
Yeah, which
They are.
yeah, the first shot we see of her. Oh, you see lips, but the next one is just the feet walking.
Also, like as many times as he can get a woman to take their shoes off, he will. Even the fucking
Yeah.
cab driver has no shoes on.
Yeah.
Her
Apparently
foot
he-
goes down on the pedal.
Yeah.
But-
Apparently, he wrote the guy that wanted something about Mary's shoes. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, that was Tarantino's contribution to There's Something About Mary. So we get that. We get the also like he's good at doing these things where the moments like she goes, "I'm gonna go powder my nose," and it cuts in to a very extreme scene of a whole bunch of women around her,
Yeah.
while she's doing coke straight off the bathroom sink,
yeah.
which is like has those moments a lot in the film. Just stuff where it's like no one would do that normally. I like the tension in the whole Mia moment where she does do the heroin off the table, and she knows straight away. Big kudos to Uma Thurman in showing something that would like straight away she knew, like the moment of like she knew straight away that something's not right.
Yeah, yeah.
And she's trying to. She has this moment where which I think is a great choice. She tries to pull her nose apart and tries to shove her finger up to try and get it out,
Yeah.
as if she's like, "Oh fuck," straight
Yeah.
away. I think that's just like one of the most awesome choices. And then going the whole. Do you have a big marker? Big magic marker?
I like the
Fucking magic marker, man.
the red dot.
Yeah.
Even before that, I like how Travolta goes, because he says, "Oh, what do you say about his wife's friend is single?" He goes, "Oh, is it the weird one?" He goes,
Yeah, the one with all the shit on her face.
Yeah. He goes, "No, that's my wife." He's like, "Oh shit."
Yeah, but they both go.
Yeah.
Like, and he has the biggest wad of cash in that scene.
Yeah.
In like a crack house I've ever seen in my life.
You know who that Jesus guy reminded me of? What's his name in it? Was his name Jesus?
I don't think his name is Jesus.
Oh, but the guy wearing the robe, right? The drug dealer.
Yeah.
He reminds me of Boogie Nights. You know, they go to that guy's
Wasn't it?
house and they
Yeah,
always
yeah,
tap with
yeah,
the
yeah.
thing.
Lance.
They're like so similar, I reckon.
The
eh?
fireworks.
Yeah, yeah.
Eric
He just reminded me of that.
Eric
Alfred
Stoltz.
Molina's character.
Eric Stoltz is the name of the actor. He looks like he's been in heaps. I can't remember what else
That
he's
name,
been
yeah,
in.
that's him,
yeah.
He's been in heaps. I know that face straight off like that. Like he looks
He
different.
looks way different in Pulp Fiction.
He
Yeah.
could play a Loki,
Yeah.
that guy. He's got that Loki face.
A little bit, yeah. But yeah, that is something like we've talked about before. The whole tension building that he can bring. Like he has that moment where he kind of cuts away the tension at moments, but he has that moment where they're just about to plunge a syringe into her chest. And he cuts into, Vincent, into Lance, and then he cuts into the girlfriend. The girlfriend's like smiling, like
she was. Yeah, it's like this is exciting.
Yeah, the whole the rubber band thing that he does. There's a few scenes in this movie that he's like, you're watching and you're like, yeah, this is really well done.
Even the Bruce Willis and the Mac 10 gun chilling on the desk.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was hectic.
The toaster pastries.
Toaster pastry, waits for them to pop.
I think the ultimate one is but Sam Jackson trying to talk the two robbers down. That scene's just, I love that scene.
Yeah.
Man. I think that's my favorite of the movie.
Yeah,
the final
tastes
one.
the burger, tastes the drink.
No, I mean the final one when he's talking to Tim.
yeah,
Robbins.
yeah,
That's
and
just
part,
like the one when he's in there.
Control the whole thing.
That is tense. The one when they're in there, but you do get there's more the feeling that Sam Jackson is very in control of the situation, so it's not as tense. That final one, it's like the chick's like a loose cannon.
Yeah, she played that so
crazy.
well, man.
Yeah.
He needed that though.
Honey bunny.
He didn't,
And I love that too. And he's like,
hey,
"I'm
honey
proud.
bunny."
I'm proud of you, baby. Tell you proud of her."
Yeah,
Telling you,
so good. Yeah. But it's good you had someone that was just so calm and cool, and someone was just on edge, man.
Yeah.
Like a meth addict or something.
What was her name? Was it like Yolanda or something?
Yeah, Yolanda, I think. Yeah.
It just says honey bunny.
Yeah,
here.
Honey Bunny.
And he's
Yeah.
like, Vincent, stand the fuck back.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
He goes, I'm going to give you the 1,500. He goes, if you give her the 1,500, I'm shooting her on principle.
And didn't he get the book from the toilet? That book that stayed with him?
That's where
Yeah.
he got it
That's
from.
He found it in the toilet. Yeah.
If
And
you
he
found
kept
it, I don't know if
through
he found it in the toilet or he just has it on him all the time to
Yeah,
read. It
it
was
was
like
weird.
a nice little
But it was
tidbit.
funny.
What
Yeah.
was the book called?
I can't remember what it was.
Oh,
On
I
the cover
forgot,
again.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was every time I tried to look for it, I didn't take the time to pause it and then check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I did see that it was like something like Maiden,
Yeah.
and I thought it was out of place for what he would be reading. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. Also, I completely forgot about the whole Christopher Walken story for some reason.
I was going to mention it in my opening, but I was going to say, when I first watched this ages ago, I always remember that scene of how good it was. And I always remembered that it was just one long shot, but it isn't. It's broken up.
Yeah, it is.
And I don't know. I don't think it was as good as I thought it was in the beginning. It's still well acted and good, cool story, but I don't know. Samuel L. Jackson just...
I think that one in particular, because I had the same thing as you, and the more I thought about it, maybe that is like, it's kind of like a magic trick, and the first time you see it, you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
it's amazing. But the more you watch it,
Yeah.
like it's just, there's such a long build up to get to the end of that story that when you know what the ending is, maybe it's a bit like, oh, come on, like, and especially when you like the movie's so long as well, and you know what's coming ahead. It's different. That's what I'm saying. With this movie, I'd like to go back to the first time that I watched it, because I think
it really is the most is the moment for you where you go, wow,
Yeah.
like wow, I've never seen anything like it.
yeah.
But now we're used to Tarantino. Now we're used to stories like this.
Yeah.
Well, and we've seen him. This is like it's his second movie, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I mean, we've seen him.
Sophomore
For me,
film.
I wouldn't say that he's not made better movies, but he's never made a better scene for me than the opening of Inglourious Bastards.
Oh my
and maybe
God,
even also
so
in that
fucking
movie.
good.
Actually, there's 3 scenes in that movie that may be like
Tense.
like 3 of his best, and it's the opening scene, the
dessert?
strudel scene, and the bar scene with Fassbender and the,
Oh my
the German
I'm
3.
so fucking keen to watch that movie.
They're the epitome of the elastic band thing that he does. But for me, like my favorite movie of his is I've got to watch because I'm looking forward to seeing it for a second time. But Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, for me, was like a maturation of for him, because it wasn't like a little bit of dialogue, bam, something crazy, a little bit of dialogue. It was just like the whole movie was like building, and I was like, wow, he's really restraining himself, which I appreciated now. But I would like this movie. I would like to go back to the first time that I watched it.
It's funny, the ones that I'm more interested to see, because I know very much so that I love Kill Bill movies. I really do think they're like it's out of the box for him, but it's perfectly in the box still.
Yeah.
But I'm really interested to see Hateful Eight again.
Same.
And that's only because it's just so long, and I'm really looking forward to having that moment to be like, I'm going to watch this and I'm going to really relax. Take my time.
I just love
for
the
it.
opening scene of that. Just that long shot of the carriage coming in.
But I love the fact, yes, it
epic
is really
music.
good.
Oh, man.
Oh, actually, the moment I like, we'll get to it. But yeah, I do think that when it comes to the Christopher Walken scene, I think that although we look at it now and go, oh, it's not too great, I think it does something, and maybe this is because we're so fresh off There's Something About Mary, but it does something that something like that is really bad at, and it's turning something that is a very serious story, using something that is horrible like racism, and making it actually comedic. Properly comedic. Not like, it doesn't feel like it's being racist for racist's sake. It feels like it's doing it for the joke of it. And I think that's something that doesn't happen. Like, it's such a fine line to be able to pull that off. And I think a lot of the rest of the movie doesn't. Like Tarantino's moment in the kitchen. It doesn't pull it off.
Well, because it is like, I mean, it's still
it's still hectic.
It's still hectic,
shocking.
and it's still language that today I don't know if you'd be able to get away with it. But you get it in the sense that like you watch Band of Brothers, and they, the words they use to reference other countries' soldiers and things like that. They're not PC, but I mean, they're at war with these people, and it's a different context, and we don't really understand because we weren't there having to do this sort of thing. And that's exactly, I think that's what you're saying.
Well as maybe it's the character choice that he is a POW. That helps with that. Where you're like, okay, well, this is has like very strong feelings about something. But I think that it's just done where I felt like the shock of it. I'm like, oh my God, he's saying these really bad things about like another country. And you're just like, but the way he's saying it in this moment is actually funny. It's not like, because it feels right for the moment. But in other scenes in this movie, it doesn't come off. Like, it just doesn't work. And I think specifically the Tarantino moment later, you're just like, this is painful. This is painful to watch.
Although I did like the coffee moment. Talking about coffee.
Oh yeah, that's fantastic. Because she buys shit. I buy that gourmet shit.
That's the light. He does the dark, he does the light all the time.
But I can see why he does it. Because he's always said that I would rather be doing the scene that I know that no one else would be allowed to do and would get in trouble for. And I think he does that with things like, even later in Django Unchained, he says a lot of very racist things again. And he's the one doing it again. I think it's the filmmaker putting himself in the film for that reason. But I don't think it's the right thing to do. I think it's a choice.
No, he's a very interesting character, Tarantino.
But anyway, I wanted to touch on that because I think the Christopher Walken scene and the Tarantino scene are the ones that kind of shine that light in this movie the most. And I don't know, it's very comical. Maybe later on in the pawn shop, the same thing. But, I mean, that's just fucking crazy. That just gets hectic.
That's crazy.
Which, why don't we just
I kind of like that scene.
Why don't we just...
I like that scene.
That's what I'm saying. That's the best part of the Bruce Willis segment.
And attention thing again. Because he gets out of it, and then he goes upstairs and he's picking out what to get.
How's the gimp in the box, man?
How long is the the gimp.
He didn't really do anything.
I read Tarantino's thoughts on the GIMP, about what the GIMP was and what happened to the GIMP after it and everything.
Yeah.
And he says he's dead. He got hung after Bruce Willis knocked him out. But he reckons that that's just some like homeless person or hitchhiker they've picked up and just tortured into being submissive to them.
Heck to go.
Jesus.
Yeah.
And
Terrifying.
And it was well cast too. The security
Yeah.
cop. He just has. He's in a
the
few
bad
movies.
guy from The Mask.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
What's his name, Zed?
He's like
Zed, yeah.
He's
Zed's
like-
dead, baby.
he's like Ray Liotta. Has
Yeah.
that the painted eyelashes or something.
Yeah.
But he does. He's got that sort of, I don't know, just like a weird pretty boy look.
He's so good in The Mask. As like, he plays, who does he play?
That movie was pretty
Dorian. I like The Mask, man.
Yeah, Dorian. That's it. Yeah.
Dorian. There's still time. In The Mask. He's such a fucking
I haven't
good
seen
character.
that in ages.
Yeah, it's.
That's worth the watch.
Yeah.
I think that
tried
would be
wa-
more interesting than what's it called?
I tried watching it again. I couldn't get through it.
It's good, man. It's good. Think again. Anyway, but the going down the stairs with the sword is so fucking long.
Yeah.
That's one of the longest cuts in the movie, I'd say.
Oh, did you mention they talk about the assassin in Kill Bill in this movie?
The assassin. What? Which one?
Marcellus's wife. She talks about, I think the Japanese girl in Kill Bill.
Oh, really? That's
Didn't you
in
see
one of
that?
the stories or something.
Yeah.
Orenishi.
Yeah, I think that was it. Yeah, and it's in relation, I think, to one of the characters in Kill Bill.
Yeah, I'll have to. That's something that I want to go into while we do this Tarantino run that I've been uncovering. Is do you want me to go into it now, or do you want me to wait?
I think, yeah, why not? Let's go into it.
So basically, his movie universe is all connected, and there's movies that exist right in the realer than real world or hyper real world
Right.
that is like, it's almost just like it's like a hyper real version of our world. Like Inglourious Basterds exists in that because those characters are still realistic, but
okay.
it's a separate version of history, right? So that's his universe. But then movies like, and I may have to correct myself
So I
next
guess that
week,
works
but I'll.
with Once Upon a Time in
Yeah,
Hollywood.
this is like I'm introducing the idea of it, and from now on, I'm going to actually go through how they all connect properly and everything.
Yeah.
But Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2 don't exist in this world. Well, they do, but they exist in in that world.
Of the cinema.
Kill Bill is a cinema, like is a movie in that world.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
So that's the same with Pulp Fiction, and then Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is the real world.
The real world, yes.
Yeah, because then there's that scene with like him burning Nazis.
Yeah.
And that's Inglourious Basterds?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Fuck.
And no, so Inglourious Basterds is real.
Yeah.
It's in the real world. That actually happened in that world.
Right. Oh, and then that's the story they're telling, the movie they're telling
and then,
from it.
From Dusk Till
Holy
Dawn
shit,
is the
so
cinematic version, like the cinematic world within the world.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So all those
okay.
movies still,
Yeah.
so they're all shared.
That seems more real, that one, though.
It's like Death Proof
later
as
on.
well. But
I
no,
don't
it's
know.
not his. But
Death Proof would be as well.
Yeah.
But so each week I'm going to try and bring in how they all connect to each other and things
Right,
like that.
okay. Because I did notice even...
So did I just steal your shine then?
No, it's fine. You
Okay,
brought it in smoothly.
Okay.
Well, we know even something like The Wolf.
Yeah.
The Wolf in it seems like he's straight up Harvey Keitel's character from Reservoir Dogs almost.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
I was actually wondering even if the female robber character was the one that they were all talking about in Reservoir Dogs that Harvey Keitel dated. He
Oh,
said she was
yeah.
a good girl and stuff like that. It was-
Maybe. Yeah. Hell of a thief.
There's, but it's
Yeah.
it's gonna. I'm gonna have to do a lot of sifting through to find the connections because there's no one resource that has the connections. You have to like
Right. Kind of dip.
read full articles about things and stuff like that. So that'll be. I'll dedicate myself to that for while we do this run. Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like we're nearing the end of this, but we get things like the shooting of Marvin in the back of the car and the Wolf, which is such a great character.
Yeah, he's cool.
Like, yet again, Harvey Keitel eats the scene.
How
like,
fast does he drive?
so fucking good. And because he says I'll be there in 13.
Yeah,
So-
And he goes,
so
6
professional.
minutes, 35 seconds later or something.
yeah. pretty pleased with sugar on top. Clean the fucking car. But yeah, like yet again we get that moment of Vincent Vega, actually showing that he is not a level-headed dude.
No.
And like gets angry very quickly.
Clearly the brother of Vic Vega.
Yeah, very clearly in it.
Yeah.
And
he's a heroin addict too. That's like very
like super bad. Like he's like, I want the heavy shit.
yeah.
How is he? Oh, just when he just stumbles up to Marcel's house.
Yeah.
He acts that so well.
Yeah. Then I think the hose scene is like a good cracker scene.
Yeah.
Like, you guys have been to county before.
How's Tarantino's face at the time?
Yeah.
You can just see him as the director going, these guys got a cop at you bastards.
And then they give him the shittiest clothes on planet Earth. But yeah, I think that like throughout that whole scene, the shooting of Marvin, fucking crazy.
Yeah.
That's the most out there moment maybe in the whole movie, bar the gimp. Because you're just there and you're like, and I love how chill they are about it. Did you just shoot Marvin? Oh man, he goes, just shot him in the face.
But even when they're cleaning up, Samuel Jackson goes, what the fuck am I sitting here? You
Back
did it?
in the
Yeah,
back.
it's the swap.
I was thinking the same thing. Well, before he even
Picking up
said it,
brain
I was
matter.
like, why is he in the back seat?
Yeah.
He's clear in the front. There's not much there.
But see, even just thinking of that,
Yeah.
it adds another bit of conflict in there.
Why am I
Yeah.
cleaning up brains? Yeah. But yeah, fantastic little scene. And I think that brings us to our next segment, Sack It or Brisket. This is Dan's Cinematography Corner. A little context for new listeners. Sack It or Brisket came from Dan's love of beef briskets. Check out the Enola Holmes episode and the unique term to sack that if he doesn't like something. So is he going to sack this flick's cinematography or make himself a beef brisket and love every morsel of its visuals?
Wow.
Go, Dan.
This is, I know it's the same cinematographer, and there's a dramatic improvement, I think, between this and Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah, I think so.
Don't know if it's probably due to budget. Not sure about that, but still not a brisket.
Still not a brisket.
It's going to be
That's fair
better
enough,
because there are a couple of films coming up from Tarantino that are briskets.
I think you'll see a vast improvement in the next one.
Yep.
Jackie Brown.
I think Jackie Brown is a much better looking movie. You'd be surprised.
I honestly just have very vague memory of that.
Yeah,
movie.
nor do I, but
was
I
gonna
remember
watch it
being looked
yesterday, and I was hovering around, and I just said, "No, Inside Llewyn
Wait for
Davis."
it, yeah.
But yeah, it's not a. I don't think it's a brisket yet.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I can see that.
I think it has moments that are pretty
Yeah,
spectacular.
it's much better, but it's there's more stuff coming.
I think there's some production design choices
It's
that
a
are
bit-
really good. Like the taxi.
It's a bigger movie, man.
The taxi scene has in the outside of it has black and white film.
Yes, I wrote
the
that down in my
background,
notes. Yeah,
which I thought was-
I wonder why he did that.
I think that's just to be a bit more noir in that moment. A bit more like, the boxer running away is kind of a very tropey moment. If you think about it, it's a very tropey scene. And I think he's just kind of paying homage to that type of thing. Probably similar to like paying homage to something like Raging Bull, in the sense of the boxer.
Yeah,
But
it's I don't know.
I liked it as a choice because it felt fine for how they lit it and everything. But I do think the whole scene could be gone. That whole scene could be out and it wouldn't.
Yeah, I still
wouldn't
reckon
worry
heaps of the
movie.
Bruce Willis stuff shouldn't be in there.
Yeah.
But, yeah,
That's fair enough.
yeah.
Thank you for your cinematography corner, Dan. Declan,
Yes.
it's time to bring us the factoids. Unsheath the sword, go down to the basement and slice us up some factoids. Declan,
Very well.
thank you.
All right. So when Vincent plunges the syringe into Mia's chest,
Yes.
that was actually achieved by doing it in reverse.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh.
so he viciously pulls it back up and then they reverse the footage back down.
Wow.
So he
Jesus
wasn't
Christ.
actually hitting a...
And also,
Hard.
so it looks like he actually hits the correct location.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
That'd
that
be
would be
super hard.
intense having a one chance to hit her in the right spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, or also could hit the rib cage and crack, like bend the syringe. Or
Yeah.
You'd have to be so precise.
Yeah, to get through the breastplate. Yeah.
It'd probably be more beneficial if you actually put it there and then just pressed.
Pressed down hard.
Yeah,
Pressed
Compression,
hard.
yeah.
And when Vincent Vega's talking about when his car got keyed?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tarantino has come out and said that Butch did that. So I'm guessing that happened after they had that little weird confrontation
Yeah, that makes
in the
sense.
bar,
too,
and he
yeah.
just walked out.
Yeah. Yeah. How good is that?
Yeah. And so here's what I was a bit incorrect when I said this before, but so The movie only cost $8 million. The initial budget was even lower until Bruce Willis was added to the cast. Even though he'd had a recent string of domestic flops, but he was still a box office draw.
Yeah.
$5 million went to pay the actors and actresses' salaries.
Fucking hell.
Not much for, you know.
It's $3 million for the
These
movie.
days, yeah.
That's
and
insane.
The film was already profitable when its worldwide rights were sold for $11 million.
Far out.
Again, mainly on the strength of Willis's presence.
Jeez.
So they really needed him. Basically, needed him in it to
Far out.
get it across, and it went on to gross over $200 million at the box
Oh,
office. So
man.
quite a
Fucking
profit.
hell.
Cleaned up.
Oh, my
Yeah.
God.
And the '64 Chevy Malibu that Vincent drives was actually Tarantino's car and was
could see him
stolen
having
during
it.
the production of the film. And then get this. Later on, in 2013, a police officer saw two kids stripping an older car. He arrested them. While looking up the owner of the vehicle, he found the VIN had been altered. It turned out that that was Tarantino's car.
Did
That
he
many
take it
years
back?
later.
Did they give it back to
The
him?
owner had recently purchased it, had no idea it was stolen. Doesn't say here.
Wow, hectic.
I imagine he would have wanted it back because it's part
Yeah.
of his cinema
history, yeah.
So it reminds of the George Costanza. He
Crazy.
had John Voight's car, was it? The pencil?
Yeah, John Voight's car.
It was John Voight, wasn't it? Or Ted Danson? No, John Voight.
It's John Voight.
Yeah.
But
It was
John Voight.
I'm
the
better
de-
than Ted Danson.
It was John Voight, the dentist, not John Voight.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. Ted Danson was the pilot one.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
pilot.
Hey, yeah.
What's Ted Danson good at? I'm better than Ted Danson. I'm better than Ted Danson.
And then, so this goes further with the Vega Brothers thing. So Michael Madsen was actually originally offered that part that John Travolta plays.
That makes sense.
Ah, yeah.
And he was, because he was the brother, and that's what Tarantino was going to make it, that they were the same actor.
Yeah.
And he turned it down because he had a scheduling conflict. That's how John Travolta eventually came to play the part, which
Also, it would have been
reignited
weird.
his career.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's Michael Madsen's biggest regret of his whole career.
Yeah.
He didn't do that movie.
It's weird though, because if you look at it, it makes more sense that he was the one there that Travolta was.
Yeah.
Because or else he would have had to rewrite it in a weird way where he doesn't get killed.
Yeah.
And it's really kind of a great moment to see Vincent Vega get shot in such an unceremonious way.
Yeah.
Like while he's just come off the shitter.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a very this makes sense for what would happen in this world.
Yeah, yeah.
You know? Something like that would occur.
Yeah.
So I think that it's actually a better choice
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
And Vincent Vega is the only character who's present in every segment of the film. So he's the...
Yeah,
yeah.
he's a tiny one, yeah.
Yeah. Bruce Willis was only on the film for 18 days. That's how long he was on set for. So,
Jesus.
Far out.
And this is a long
I
part
like
as
how they
well.
gave him that piece of shit car to drive.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Yeah,
Seeing
they're
a
like the
diehard
little-
person in a little Pee-wee car, little Honda.
You should see though, it's really great. I saw some behind the scenes stuff of Tarantino talking with Willis, and he's so professional, Tarantino, on the set.
Yeah.
But he also looks like a little kid having fun.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of both. It's weird because when it's time to shoot and do things, he's like talking to the actors as if it's like this is very important, and then he walks away from the actors. He's like, "Let's fucking make a movie, man!" And you're like, "This is weird," but it keeps everyone's morale up while also being professional in the moment.
Yeah.
It's fantastic,
Yeah.
and especially Bruce Willis isn't supposedly the easiest person to work with everyone.
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah, we know
Yeah,
that.
we know
Yeah.
yeah,
These are two little Sam Jackson ones that are pretty cool.
yeah.
So the bad motherfucker wallet was Tarantino's wallet.
Oh, really?
Oh, what?
Wow.
I mean, the inscription is actually a reference to the theme song of Shaft, which Samuel Jackson played the title character of.
Ah.
Yeah,
Okay.
cool.
So it's like a little
Yeah.
inside nod. And then this one's cool considering how much we talk about this series of movies. The quote Jules uses from Ezekiel 25:17 in the Old Testament is on Nick Fury's gravestone in Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Holy shit!
It says,
That's
"The path
cool.
of the righteous man," Ezekiel 25:17.
Oh, Captain America's gravestone.
No, Nick Fury when he
Oh,
fakes
Nick
his
Fury
death.
He's dead.
Ah.
That's so cool.
Wow.
And then there was something else I wanted to bring up here. It's not so much a fact, but basically this movie. This is why I said earlier that I wish I could have been around when this movie actually came out, because I actually didn't know how big the history of this movie was, but it changed the cinema landscape in terms of the indie movie. This was like the Star Wars of independent films.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I could see that.
And even more still, so like then people realized there was marketability in these movies and they could make a profit off them, which is how, I think this is how we got that whole wave of directors like Kevin Smith and Paul Thomas Anderson, everyone being able to make these movies that they got to make in the late 90s.
Yeah.
And Disney actually bought Miramax just before
wow.
this movie was
What?
made, which Miramax, so Miramax was, I didn't know this, they're a subsidiary of Disney.
Wow, I didn't know that at all either.
So does that make the
All those
Weinsteins-
Academy Awards.
Yeah.
Kind
I
of
know.
bailed by Disney there,
Yeah.
in a weird way.
I guess when they left the Miramax company though and made their own company, they broke away from
Right.
Disney, right?
'Cause that was with-
surely that must have been what was part of the problem for
Okay,
them.
that makes sense. Yeah.
But also Tarantino created this thing where it was like he wasn't remaking movies, but he was making movies that were referencing older movies
yeah.
and sort of lightly spoofing and playing off of them.
It's a resurgence of old content.
Yes, and then people were like, Hollywood actually had this brainwave where they're like, well,
remake.
we don't have to remake our movies. We can make movies that give the similar feeling to those movies. And it really changed. Really changed independent cinema.
This is the most
JJ's
intelligent.
first Star Wars.
Yeah. So I think one of the smartest things that isn't done enough is taking much older films and then remaking them.
Yeah.
I think that's done less, and I think that usually turns out better. So right now, we take a lot of the time Hollywood does things like, 'cause do you remember, like, as you were saying, it's one of those things where like he's taking older movies and riffing.
Yeah.
But I think that what Hollywood does now is they take things from like the 80s and 90s and then try to remake them. And you're like, it wasn't really... It's like, yes, it is a long time ago now, but it isn't really long enough.
Oftentimes they weren't even that great of movies. Like,
Yeah.
I like, not saying it's not a great movie or whatever, but something like Total Recall. It's not like it's a fun
Yeah.
movie, but it's not like it's like an all-time classic. Like this needs to be remade and retold.
Well,
and
not remade, yeah.
Yeah,
Like
it's
I would rather watch something like The Maltese Falcon or something that's really older and, 50s, 60s.
Yeah.
I'd like to see... I know it's a classic and it probably wouldn't be made as well, but It's a Wonderful Life. I would be happy to see a remake
or a riff on that sort of style of thing. Yeah,
turning it into something else.
Yeah,
Because I think it's enough time passed to be like, let's try something new.
yeah,
But I think you're right. I think Hollywood. What I think you're getting to is that Hollywood does a lot of remakes now.
yeah. They do.
And it was because of a lot of it was because of kind of how Tarantino did this.
Yeah.
And you could see that there was like potential to take older things.
Well, look, like Disney basically just take their cartoons and shot for shot remake them in live action now, like without even really having anything new to say about the movies. Like,
Yeah, I don't like that at all.
I you know what? There's some that work and some that don't.
I think Beauty and the Beast worked fine enough, just because that is like that's just a classic story. But like The Lion King for me was a big
It wasn't.
miss.
I know it's going for live action, but when you lose the facial,
the emotion.
through the actions of the face, it just looks like puppets acting.
Yeah, it's weird because for so many years I wanted to see like a real life version or like the
Like, it looked
CG
amazing,
version.
but it's just
But then you look at it and you go, yeah, it doesn't. You really have to do something more so along the lines of, I don't know, maybe because there's other movies that did really well with animals in them. Maybe not Dr. Dolittle, but there were other movies that took animals and they made their
Babe.
expression.
Babe.
No,
That
it was
that was massive.
Was it
back in the
was
day,
it
though.
like one of the?
It was.
I've got a story
Yeah, it
about
was.
that.
It was huge. But there was ones like
You know who I'm talking about.
But there was ones like shit. Like there was the Jungle Book. All right. There was the John Favreau one, and then there was another one, Mowgli.
I like that.
I didn't watch the Mowgli one, the Andy Serkis one.
Yep, I like
But I
it.
liked the Mowgli one because they had expression.
Yeah.
And I think that would have
And-
done well in Lion King.
It's just
And-
it's sad that got the wind taken out of its sails because of the first Jungle Book.
The
coming
Jungle
out.
Book was nowhere near as good as
I haven't
Mowgli.
seen it, but I'm just saying it definitely lost its traction
Yeah.
because of
Because
the
of
first
it,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, Andy Serkis, he's had a mood to it, and I think that's what helped.
Yeah, but it had it almost had like had a very specific style, and the animals were like, you could see that they were the animals that they were trying to portray, but they had enough expression to be like, oh, I actually care about these.
Well, even the new Planet of the Apes movies.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
I mean...
Yeah, well, that was on our list to watch.
I would say in terms of like with the riffing on things, I think that does still happen, but it's sort of not happening enough. But you look at I know you get annoyed at this director, Daniel, but like Inception with Nolan, right? Like
like I said, they're great movies, but I'm just Nolan out.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But it's like this, just like making a point with that movie is. I remember when that movie came out, everyone was going, you know. Oh, no one's ever done anything like this before. This is new. It's a new genre, and I remember saying like, no, it's a heist movie. Yeah. What he's done is he's taken the heist genre, he's riffing on it with a bit of a sci-fi thing laced in there, which is really cool. Which is like that's the way that we can go. Yeah, because you can't come up with a new genre. There's no possible way. You can mix and match. I think when like in school we were taught there's only like 5 types of a story like. On the base level.
There's not many, yeah.
And it's just about riffing and mixing and matching things now, like you said,
For example, one of the biggest ones, and one that's most commonly used now in, say, Marvel movies, is kind of like the Jesus arc.
Yeah.
This big savior that, you know, sacrifices himself.
Yeah.
And then comes back.
Yeah.
It's common in comic book movies.
Man of Steel, that is like real on the nose.
Yeah.
and Batman v
Superman.
What
about Avengers? The Stark moment, he goes up, sacrifices, comes straight back.
Yeah, but I think
similar idea. With Man of Steel's big
like,
time.
Has
Batman
so much
Superman.
I imagine that the Justice League portion of his
completely
trilogy will even further emphasize that.
This week, next week,
the 18th.
Next week,
it's coming up, but I don't know if we're going to be doing it next week because we do have a Tarantino film and also Falcon. And the Winter Soldier.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Shouldn't we just wait till all 5 parts come out for the Justice League?
No, it's one big movie.
Is it?
Yep.
I thought it was coming out in 5 parts.
Nah, he said he's doing one.
Wow.
I thought it was split in 5.
And don't forget this Friday, Drive to Survive. Season 3.
Oh, what?
Yep, and it's going to have the crash and everything in there.
This is out there, but that sounds fucking cool. Yeah. I love that series.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, I do think you're right. But Tarantino also does it, like, I'd say 2 of the biggest movies I've ever seen that mix and match like that. Do 2 movies and take 2 different types of movies and then put them together. Predator, sci-fi and war movie,
Dust
Till Dawn.
Yeah,
and one of those is a Tarantino film.
I'm sure there's others.
It's funny though because like if done right, a genre mash can be cool and like a nice riff, but. There's examples of when it goes wrong. He's like Cowboys versus Aliens.
Yeah,
and stuff
exactly.
Like that, you know?
Well, the problem is they literally called the movie the genre mash that it is as well.
I mean, it's happened through history, like the samurai movie is the American version of that was the Western. Like those 2 genres are very similar.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's in the like horror is probably the best example of what's been able to move into a modern setting where it's like if you track horror through history, it's always like relevant to technology of the time.
Yeah.
And like you know, like it was always like back in the day, it was just the classic haunted house, and we've got something like The Ring where it's a VHS TV, and then like It Follows, and
it moves between what the technology is now.
Yeah.
It opens up the creative space more. Like, is it Insidious where they use the baby monitor?
The baby monitor, yeah. Or even Paranormal Activity.
So like that's like almost riffing on like a classic style, but you're modernizing it and giving yourself like new creativity with this new space instead of just constantly treading over old ground.
I do think that like the horror genre is underrated for being able to delve into so many other aspects.
It is, and the reason it's underrated is something I've said before because there's so much horror out there. There's a lot of shit to sift through. You know,
Event Horizon was another.
Sci-fi horror.
Yeah, but they used that psychological. What happens when you go in space? You
go crazy.
I think was that one of the first ones that did.
It's like a mad cow disease type of thing. Similar.
Yeah.
But yeah, that I think that very much so. It's hard to do good horror, and also genre mash.
Yeah.
But it is also the most common to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like moving on, I think we're up to our final thoughts.
Yep.
I did you first, didn't I, at the start of this? Yes,
you did,
I did.
Yeah.
So it's your turn.
Yeah.
Final thoughts.
Oh, yes. This is a great movie and probably the only real, I'll use the word flaw, but it's barely a flaw, is just that chunk in the middle, maybe a little bit too long. But I would say that about a lot of movies from this from that the mid 90s to early 2000s sort of era.
Yeah.
We did get a lot of long movies then.
Yeah.
When you look at even some of Paul Thomas Anderson movies, like Magnolia that's a long movie. Titanic's a fucking long movie,
Even a lot of the early Linklater films have things like that. The opening and ending are the best, and then the center is kind of
But
Clerks.
That's and that's just I've said before in here. I do as much as I'll sit here and say it was long. If a director's got a vision and their vision involves the movie being long, I would prefer to watch it through and be able to watch it and at the end say maybe they should have cut some of that out. But I'd rather see it as they want it to be seen.
Ben-Hur.
Classic. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Which
is why I'm intrigued with Justice League now.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. You know, I'm more like, I don't think it's going to be amazing, but I just want to see him do what he wanted.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is for me really Tarantino becoming Tarantino.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reservoir Dogs, there's traces of it with the music and the dialogue, but it's still... He still feels like he's holding himself back a bit, and in this one he was just like, "This is my personality, deal with it."
Yeah,
and everyone loved it
for sure.
Yeah, makes sense. Yep.
And I think I'll wait until we do the end of the run to do my rankings, because otherwise I'm just.
You've already done them,
but to chop and change.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think. I'll tell your ranking at the moment though, since you've just finished yours. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the first. Second, Kill Bill Volume 2. The third, Inglourious Bastards. Fourth, Reservoir Dogs. Fifth, Kill Bill Volume 1. Sixth, Pulp Fiction. Seventh, Django. Eighth, Hateful Eight. And ninth, Jackie Brown.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that changes in the future.
Yeah.
Dan, man.
Yeah. Like I said, it was a tough one for me. And I agree with what Declan said. There's a bit of a bloat in the middle. But yeah, it's still a great movie. It's I just find it real hard to compare this to Reservoir, which is his first. I do like the originality and the what's the word?
Style?
No, not style. It's like inexperience, but it's still.
Yeah, it feels what? How can I say it? It feels genuine.
Yeah,
it's almost like he's just starting to work out a muscle.
Yeah,
it's like he's just.
Yeah, it's like
you know what I mean. It's like he's
there's
just
a spark there.
He's just lifting the dumbbells for the first time, kind of thing. And by the time we're at Inglourious Bastards, he's like fucking.
He's all pistons.
jacked.
All pistons.
He's onto the protein powder.
Yeah.
It's pretty much. Yeah,
and that's how I can sort of rate this movie, and all these movies. I think from doing this run now, I think they're just going to get better, but still score around that same mark. It's really hard to. It's hard to pinpoint.
They
what I'm trying
don't
to
really
say.
drop anywhere past a 7. I don't think these movies, and none of them. So I don't know. It's hard because they're really good.
Yeah,
they're all good.
And it's. I guess I'm trying to find something bad, but I don't see anything bad.
It's like I said, we like on here. It's like sort of like if we're going to do this, we may as well try and nitpick on things and point things out. But like I said, like saying it's bloated in the middle, it's like
But did you still enjoy kind of those moments?
I still like
and
I still like the taxi ride still. Well, I don't hate
that was another cool fact actually. Sorry to jump on your thing. The taxi driver chick was in that character was in a short film about a woman that goes and cleans up murders for people.
Wow.
And he liked that short film, so he put her in this movie as the same character. So yeah,
hectic.
It's cool. Los Lobos.
Yeah,
it's a cool name for it too.
Esmeralda Los Lobos.
Yeah. But look, I'm going to give this a 7.5.
That's fair. Yeah,
I like Dogs better because. Yeah, it's that to me is his coming.
Succinct.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just something about it.
I love it. I think Reservoir Dogs is like awesome,
and it's nice and it's just tight, and I like the flaws in it.
Yeah, I think like me though. I think that something that we've always agreed on is we're a sucker for something that's good set in one room.
Yeah, and I like to see that in artists. Like, say for me, if I'm doing some lenses, like if I'm shooting backlight something and there's like crazy flares going on it. I like those imperfections. There's just something about it where it's like, a human made that.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about this. You can see Tarantino here. It's just
That's also what I like about
has
just
that-
film.
well, he has. I know I'm sort of rambling on here, but he has that. Not I can do it. It gives you hope as a viewer. Where if you look at JJ and all that, and
it's so polished and clean and
and
crisp
and that's what I'm trying to get at. Tarantino has that raw.
it's genuine.
Yeah,
It's
good.
a genuine type of feeling of this is someone's art.
Yeah.
Instead of this is someone who has the money to make such a specific idea.
So like you look at Boogie Nights, right? That feels way more polished than Tarantino movies.
You know what it is?
Do you know what I mean? And
that's if we ever do that movie, we'll go more into why that would be.
Yeah.
Because there's a reason for that. Yeah.
It's also one of those things where it feels like someone's worked as well. Like when I watch something like a JJ film, it doesn't feel like it's been work as much as hundreds of people's work.
It looks cookie cutter in those movies.
Yeah, and when I see Pulp Fiction, I think to myself, someone has really taken a lot of time and effort.
Yeah.
And, for example, done something like, how are we going to set the scene where at the end they're going to place the gun in their pants? Or how are we going to, what wallet is he going to use?
I'll give you an example.
All of those things are important
It's like when you...
for this movie.
It's like when you go... I don't know if you've been to Italy, right? You go to... like say the first time you see the Colosseum, it's like holy freaking shit, this was made by fucking slaves or whatever, right? And then you compare that with getting into your car, you have no feel for it.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
that's a modern piece of technology that something's built that's just been put together.
Yeah.
When someone has slaved
There's
literally
yeah,
over
do you know what I mean?
building something.
That's what I feel like with Tarantino movies.
Or like it's the
Do you think that it's that too? Because I ride motorbikes. You do get that feeling with motorbikes, and I wonder if it's because you can see the innards of it. And maybe that's what gives you the feeling of the cold. Like, obviously, the history behind
Watches
the Colosseum,
as well.
but you can see the engine, you can see how it all fits together more easily. I wonder if cars you were able to see, and it wasn't like this sleek finish over the top. And maybe that's the thing about the Tarantino movies: you can see the blood, sweat, and tears that went into it.
Well,
I think
it's like getting. It's the equivalent of getting a Tag Her, which is like JJ.
Yeah.
Or getting a handmade $2 million watch.
Like an Omega or something like that. Yeah.
And it's funny because that one's more expensive. The one that's handmade.
Yeah.
But you can see all of it and someone slaved over it.
Yeah.
And that's the fact with something like Pulp Fiction. It's not about how much it costs. It's about the quality of someone putting the effort in.
Yep.
And then with the JJ one, it's like it's been created piece by piece. And they have the time and effort and
It's that thing that
production.
I've said it a few times about the new Star Wars movies on here. I've never actually done them, but like it's the whole idea of it's a bit of a mean expression towards camels, but a camel is a horse designed by a committee.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
Like this is like Pulp Fiction is Tarantino's vision.
Yeah.
Whereas like JJ movies, there's a bigger budget. You probably got a committee of people sitting at a table going, no, this should happen because of this. And like, how do you fight for how does your vision come through clearly then,
and I don't want to put down JJ. There's a place for that.
I find that he was, I don't know, I still got this thing where he was forced to make those movies.
Well, the last one maybe.
I think the first one he made out of love, and I think the last one was just like...
Yeah, it's like, can you fix this? And he's like, fuck. How much am I get paid?
Yeah, it's...
Really?
I
think we'll see him come around and talk about it in years
I've actually
to come.
been reading, someone's making a comic version of Colin Trevorrow's Jewel of the Fates.
That would have been so good.
It's
compared to the other one.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
So much better. Like the whole story ending just makes so much more. It's not even that it's a lot better. It's just makes sense.
Yeah.
When the other one doesn't. Anyway.
Reece.
Yes. Sorry. I really like this movie, and I've always loved Pulp Fiction, and I do think that like a little bit of a fact about it. It is the highest rated of Tarantino's movies on IMDb. It's the highest rated on Rotten Tomatoes. It is most critically acclaimed and most audience-based acclaimed of the films that he's made, and I can see a reasoning as to why that is. I don't think it's that good compared to that. But I do think that it is definitely changing the landscape at the time. And I can see how others think it is that good.
Yeah.
Because it is something that is not seen. You can't replicate it. It's not going to be... No one can remake a movie like that or even make a type of film like that and have it come out in the same way.
Yeah, I think the closest in comparison, even though it's completely different...
Is Reservoir Dogs, though.
No, I'll say Snatch.
Maybe, yeah. But I mean...
But again, it
Guy
has Guy's
Ritchie
style.
is so...
Yeah.
That's an editing thing.
Yeah.
He's closer to someone like Edgar Wright with editing styles.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love Pulp Fiction, and it's all the little conversations which make it that much more rich for me. And yet again, I'll say the word, and I'll probably hear it every week: the coolest of choices.
You know what's funny though?
Coolest
I
jacket,
was thinking about
coolest.
it because actually I had to get a suit fitted for my sister's wedding next weekend.
Yeah.
I was watching this. I think it's a bit of a 90s thing, but the suits in his movies so far are so ill-fitting.
Oh, they're horrible. But as you said, they're probably just the actors grabbing shit out of their wardrobe. Even John Travolta, I noticed he had jeans on.
Yeah.
He didn't have pants.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah.
It's funny. Yeah.
So, I mean, but still, he just turns these characters into the coolest cats. And I think it's similar to like the feeling I get from Drive,
Yeah.
where you're just like, these characters are just cool. And that's what pretty much puts it across the line for me. I'm giving this one an 8.5 above Reservoir Dogs with a half. And that's just because all the characters are just so enjoyable. Even Bruce Willis, which is maybe the weakest of them, but still the most, a very enjoyable character.
Also, you weirdly see like a portion of his dong.
Yeah, I had it down here somewhere.
You know, it's just funny how you said the weakest character. Even the girl
Where
in
is
the
it?
taxi was better than him.
She was
Split
cool, man.
second, you can see Willis's cock.
You see like a bit of his dong, like not the whole dong, but you see.
Yeah.
Did you pause it?
No.
Nah, I didn't.
No.
I didn't pause it.
I just
Did
let
you
it
pause
run.
it?
No, I didn't.
Why'd you say that?
Old Dan would have paused it. I was just curious.
Old Dan would have paused it.
All right. Okay, let's wrap this baby up. I think we've talked enough about it. We just reviewed Pulp Fiction. You've been listening to Neon Radio Podcast. I'm Reece.
This is the big kahuna, Dan. Did I steal yours?
No, that was good. Declan 2517 signing off.
And you have a good week.
Respect.